now, Stephen Q. Rapp.
I'm looking for old Uncle Steve.
Oh, Uncle Steve is here. How was grandparents, Steve?
We did play some Greek music, so we talked to what's Stephen?
Stephen Rapopoulos.
Rapadopoulos. I'm taking you're not Greek, Stephen.
No, I'm not. I'm not Greek. I'm not. Are we officially on the air now?
Yes, of course we are. Well, you want to say something bad? I know you do.
Do things?
Yeah.
Well, I know. I wanted to say it's just great to be with the Kings of King Street, Mike Richards, and slightly cooked David Bassler.
Come on. Stephen,
hey,
comes out with a flurry.
You know what? As a producer of the show, I think Stephen Rapp just came up with a great name.
Yes, he did. The Kings of King Street.
Ooh, I love it.
Well, that surpasses.
And go ahead.
That surpasses Al Waxman, I believe.
Yes, it is. It is a real bit of a riff on the Al Waxman. Yes, it is. For those old enough to be as old as I am, they might remember that.
Okay, so with age comes wisdom, Stephen Rapp. So therefore, we take a look at the busyness of the NFL. Now, just sort of looking at how lines are, there's one that we're sort of talking about that doesn't actually hit the board yet, but we're just sort of guessing at maybe a -3 Buffalo. What do you think that number is? We know Jameis Winston is actually practicing, but because he's questionable, when do you expect that number to be up on the board? What would your guess be?
I would say this is going to probably come up tomorrow, and Winston has been practicing all week. He's been throwing the ball. And and you're right, this number will probably come up Buffalo as a 3-point favorite. You might even see a 2.5 with the Bills. And boy, if you've watched these Buffalo Bills over the last 80 years like I have, it's just tough to lay points. It's just tough to lay points with the Bills at any time. They are better as a dog than as a favorite. We pretty much know that. Going into it.
Now, you love the dirty dogs. You love the stinky dogs. I'm just curious, last night, I would have to think that you were probably on Oakland. I don't know, but I'm just guessing.
Yeah, I'm on Oakland. I mean, home teams on the Thursday night have traditionally been very good with the visiting team on a short week. I mean, dogs this last week, 11-3 season with last night's win, 54-35-1. That's just crazy. I kind of outthought myself on the show, as you know, last week, David, that I thought there would be a regression to the mean. I did not think that regression to the mean would have been me with my 1-5 on the show. Tried to take some big favorites last week, thought that would come through. It didn't. So, yeah, that was a 1-week trial, and it just didn't work out very well.
Well, someone asked me the other day about parity in the league. They said, there's a lot of parity. Well, I don't think I would use that word, Stephen. I think that there's a lot of football that's pushed itself into the middle ground. Like I'm hard pressed to say that there is an elite team right now in the NFL. And sometimes for gaming that can be good and bad depending on how big that number is going to be. But I really think the difficulty is in the lack of consistency that we see with a lot of these football teams, and therefore I think getting caught on a week where a lot of people would have lost. And I can guarantee you that happened last week as well. I just think that the level of football right now is very muddied. I don't think it's parity necessarily, as is it's not great football that's being played. There are a lot of mistakes, and I think at times, even the way the game is called, that is in terms of officiating, it comes down sometimes, like last night, to last plays of the game because it's based on flags. It's hard to gamble that way.
Well, I mean, when it gets down to officiating, and this has been kind of a pet peeve of mine going back to a few years where they used to always say the referees in the NFL are kind of part-time and they're school teachers. I think that's changed over the years, and more that they pay them more and more of them are full-time. But you still look out there, and they're guys of our ilk, our generation. Some of them look like 60, 65, 70 years old. What I don't understand is why they could not take some university athletes, college football players that aren't going to make the NFL but are still top athletes,
yep,
train them to be referees, and let them keep up with the pace of play because the play is so fast. I do not believe these referees can put themselves in the position to make the right calls. So, yes, the refereing, I think, has been horrible. I think the play has been horrible. I think a lot of the games have been bad. Last night was not a bad game. We've had a couple good Thursday night games in a row. But, the play has been bad. And you might call it parity. I guess it's a way it's parity. Who's the best team in the NFL right now? I mean,
I don't know.
People thought it was Kansas City. They lost last night. Is it Philadelphia Eagles with a second-year quarterback? Is it New England? No. Is it Atlanta? No. I mean, is it Green Bay without Aaron Rodgers? No. I mean, Carolina? No. Who is it? I can't figure it out.
Yeah, either can I.
No, exactly. Speaking of those Green Bay Packers, so we're going to see what they look like without Aaron Rodgers for the first time in a while. The Saints are at -4 right now, and they're in Green Bay. Now, this number opened around a -6 for the Saints. Surprised that the number is dropping considering the uncertainty at the Packers quarterback position?
Well, you notice this number dropping because I think it's actually been it has come back to 4. So it's 4 now.
Yeah.
It did open 4.5, 5 in some places. There was some early money jumping on New Orleans, obviously, seeing the way Hundley played last week is coming in. It's 4 now, New Orleans. Green Bay at home, I think this is a bit of an overreaction. I mean, Hundley now has had a week under the system. He's had a week to look. Is he Aaron Rodgers? Absolutely not Aaron Rodgers. But you're still looking at a New Orleans team that goes on the road. Traditionally, not a great road team. You'd be surprising. I mean, I say they're not a great road team because they don't win 11 many games in a row. But you know what the Saints road against the spread the last 13 games on the road is?
I'm guessing.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's probably 4 or 5 wins tops.
Well, no, it's 11-2 against the spread in their last 13 road.
11-2.
See, I'm shocked.
That really surprised me when I was doing my research this week, and I saw that. Still, I think that Hundley's had 3 years in the system. He didn't look good last week in that relief of Rodgers, but we'll give him a pass coming in the second quarter of a game without getting a ton of reps. Saints haven't been a road chalk of this much since December 2014. To me, a little bit of an overreaction here. I'm going to be leaning to Green Bay taking the points at home, but from a handicapping perspective, really, you really don't know what you're going to get. So I lean Green Bay if I'm going to play them in any pool picks. It's not going to make my betting card this weekend.
Okay, just for a little bit of the theme today, for Steven's people.
Yes,
the people of Greece. Let's see if we can take a look now.
I don't even like Greek food. I don't know where that came from.
Oh, come on.
You don't like Greek food.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you
Not
do.
really. I mean, cucumbers, all it is like lettuce and cucumbers. Isn't it a little bit of tzatziki sauce?
That's not insulting at all. Let's take a okay.
Not the people, it's the food.
Let's take a look at that game in London because I'm really not a fan. I don't like any of those. I don't like any of those games in London. It's cool that we get to get up, first thing in the morning. There's a football game on. That I like, but some of them can be real duds. But this is sort of interesting because those Arizona Cardinals, who they break my back more often than not. But they go in, they're going to play an LA Rams team, Steven, that scored a lot of points. I just wonder, I tend to look at that 46, which is the total, and sometimes in London I'm not really crazy depending on the quality of the pitch, if it's wet or not, but I'm a little tempted to take the over in that. What do you think in that game?
Yeah, I mean, the Rams obviously lead the league in scoring. We're one of the top teams in the league in scoring. This number opened 2. It's went to 3.5 at a lot of books. So we had some sharp and public on the Rams. But you're right. I mean, the over is 8-3 in the Cardinals' last 11 versus the NFC. The over is 7-1 in the Rams' last 8 games overall. I think you're going to see some points scored. I mean, Adrian Peterson looked real good last week. Obviously, his first game with Arizona. Carson Palmer, Larry Fitzgerald. Talk about the Three Amigos. I mean, I think they were originally in Three Amigos movies like 30 years ago. But they're starting to put some points up. The Rams are putting points up. Rams actually did not fly back to LA. They stayed on the East Coast last week and then went right to London to try to keep their body clock in the right frame of mind, I guess they say it. So yeah, it looks like this number could go over. You're probably going to see a lot of points scored here. The total being 46 now, open 47's dropped a point. So 46. Yeah, I agree with you. I do like the over in that game as well.
Steven, there's a couple of home dogs that are not very good teams, but do have a tendency of covering these sort of games, and I'm going to point out Chicago at +3 at home to Carolina. Clearly, Carolina the better team. San Francisco +6 at home to Dallas. Clearly, Dallas the better team. But right now, for my money, I would be leaning home side and the points. Where do you stand on these kind of games? And you know how well the 49ers have covered a lot of games for us lately.
Well, the 49ers 5 in a row, losing five in a row with by 3 points or less is an NFL record. Actually, we've seen Dallas before laying points on the road. They have not been very good doing that. They're 1-4 against the spread their last 5 on the road. San Francisco's 4-0 against the spread the last 4 versus the NFC. You might want. I do lean to the points here, taking 6 points in this game. You might also want to look at the over. The over in this game currently 47. You might want to look at the over 6-0 in the Cowboys' last 6 following a bye week, 6-2 in the last 8 meetings between these two teams. They go to C.J. Beathard. Is he worse than Brian Hoyer? How can he be? One number you might want to look at, the road favorites after a bye are on a 49-23 run right now. That's hitting at about 68%. So it's a tough one, but I think you might want to lean the over here. The Cowboys have scored at least 28 points in 3 straight. 49ers have allowed 26 in 3 of their last 4. You might want to look lots of points in that game. And I do lean that, listen, the 49ers keep doing it. Why don't you keep going until they don't? And the other one is Chicago.
Yes.
I just don't see Chicago scoring on that Minnesota team, that Minnesota defense. Vikings
Carolina
against the spread. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't see. We're talking about Carolina and the Bears.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm.
Come on, Steve. Pay attention.
3 points on the road. Total 40.5. Chicago at Trubisky start on the road. Carolina losing a tough one last week. I think they come back and cover that small points. I'm not sure I go with Chicago, even though Chicago has beat 2 very good teams at home. They beat Pittsburgh at home, and would they lose a close one?
This is Atlanta, week 1.
Yeah, week 1 they lost a close one where they should have actually beat Atlanta.
Correct.
So I guess you can say I'm really on the fence on this one.
Now
Another one that I'm just on.
Yep.
You can't like every game, guys.
Sure, you can like every game. Have you seen my parlays?
Have you seen Richard's parlays?
Yeah. You mentioned Minnesota. I think is the line moving? Did it open at 5.5?
It opened 5.5. It went up to 6. It's sitting 5.5 now. Actually, Sports Interaction opened this one at 4.5.
Oh wow!
It has moved up to 6 in Sports Interaction now, with a total of 39. You know that Baltimore scored 2 special teams touchdowns last week and still lost the game. That almost never ever happens. You know what that tells me? That tells me that Baltimore is just not a very good team. In the past 10 seasons, teams that have scored multiple touchdowns on special teams are 18-3, and they managed to lose that game. That tells me that the Ravens just aren't very good. And as I said, the Vikings 20-6 against the spread, last 26 at home. I don't see how Baltimore puts up even 14 on Minnesota. Minnesota laying the 4.5 or 5. I would lay the points with Minnesota. Actually 5.5 now, 6.
Yeah,
Keeps going up.
It does keep going up, and that's one of those ones where I think, Stephen, sometimes you talk about sharp money. I think when the sharps take a look at Minnesota open up at 4.5, I would think the sharp money would have been all over that.
Yeah, that's as we know, and we've talked about it on our show, and I've talked about it with you over the years. Sharp money moves the number. Very rarely during the regular season is the public going to move the number. So when you see a number go up 1.5, 2 points, especially onto a number like 6, which is one of the 4 key numbers, you're not going to, or one of the 5 key numbers, you're not going to see that public money. That's sharp that's going to be moving that number.
Stephen, thanks so much for joining us here. You're going to have a busy weekend as well, of course, on the Sportsnet radio network.
You got it. 10 o'clock Sunday morning. We'll see you then, Steve.
With slightly cooked Dave basketball. I cannot wait either. Sunday morning. Look forward to it.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thanks, guys. Have fun.
Later, pal.
Stephen Rapp talking to the Kings of King Street.
The Kings of King Street.
What? just become best friends?
Yep.